Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who's probably gonna pick some kind of provocative thumbnail or title to my review of Taylor's version of 1989, or in my mind, the only version. I'm probably gonna say something like, is this the worst Taylor Swift album? And most likely, many of you are just going to put no in the comments. You're welcome to do so. But I want to make it clear, I am not a Taylor Swift hater, I am a Taylor Swift lover. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that my experience with Taylor Swift is fairly fresh, okay? I never listened to an entire album of hers, start to finish, before Lover. So that was my first album, okay? I would say that she keeps getting better. In my opinion, her best album is Midnight's, and probably her best album is going to be the next album, okay? That's how good she is of an artist. So that should be clear up front while I criticized 1989 for multiple reasons. Also, recently I spoke at an international conference for 17th century French scholars, and in it I described how La Princesse de Clèves, the book from the 17th century, can be explained through the album Lover by Taylor Swift. This prompted an interesting conversation for about half an hour where I explained to a bunch of extremely intelligent, very educated people why Taylor Swift is more important than the Beatles. So I've been having some good Taylor Swift time lately. And it's not that 1989 is bad, okay? It's a very good album. And that's, if anything, the highest compliment you can give, where someone's worst album is very good. Now, I'm saying worst album. I've never heard her first album. I've never heard Reputation, which is the one that a lot of people say is her worst. So I'm still missing out on a couple pieces of her oeuvre. But this album is still great, but it's the worst that I've heard, okay? It's still nuts, but it's the worst that I've heard. I said that to my daughter, who is, she's a teenager, and Taylor Swift is not her favorite artist, although she respects her quite a bit. And she's like, "Are you crazy, Dad? 1989, that's like my album." I remember being at Caroline's party, and I was the only person who didn't know the lyrics, but we were all sitting there, and we were singing along. And I was like, "Which Caroline?" And I went through a list of different Carolines, and she said the name of the Caroline that she was talking about, okay? So this album, to her, is very clearly just the best Taylor Swift album. And it makes a lot of sense, because this is definitely the album that has the most songs where I go, "Oh, yeah, I know that song. Oh, yeah, I know that song." What I feel is that this album is sort of like the instincts of Taylor Swift as a songwriter and performer that I personally like the least are seen the most in this album. So I don't care about genre. I don't care if she's a country star or a pop star or a folk star. I don't care. She's a great artist. So as far as I'm concerned, she can go into any genre. She can go into polka and she'll make a great polka album, right? So I don't care about that. But as far as like the shift into pop, it doesn't seem as successful to me as Red. Even though, Speak Now was an album that I didn't totally relate to, the more I've listened to it, the more I've liked it, even since my review. And the main thing is the lyrics are really, really there for Speak Now. And then that's my biggest complaint about 1989 is the lyrics. Now, that's not to say that the production isn't also an issue. She said it, right? I've read a couple interviews with her from the time where she just said, "This is my full pop moment." So this is an intentional thing she's doing. So cool, she's trying to make a pop album, and she made a pop album, right? She made a great pop album. I'm not sure she made a great Taylor Swift album, but she made a great pop album. So she's working a lot with Shellback and Max Martin. And the thing is that when you start with Lover, like I did, and you hear that the way that Antonoff gets that, like the way that Antonoff and Swift work together, like has this great pair that seem to be just feeding off of each other's greatness and pop sensibilities at the same time. It's just like, I guess if I had grown up with it, and this was the first time I heard her go full pop. And then there's the other question of the millennialness of 1989. So I am a Generation Xer, in attitude and perspective and age. But this album is by far the most millennial Taylor Swift album, okay? Lots of kind of snaps and pops and sort of faux trappy pop stuff, rappy stuff, full of YOLO lyrics. You only live once lyrics. I mean, the album's called 1989, which is the exact center of the millennial generation, 1981 to 1996, which also happens to be when she was born. And even the sounds, just has a sort of dated quality to it. And I'm just assuming that that's how the original sounds as well. So you know, I will never listen to any of the Scooter versions ever in my entire life. I don't care how much it would help my perspective or views. I refuse to listen even 1 second to anything that is not completely controlled and owned by Taylor Swift. Okay? Oh, sorry. My magnet fell. Put that back up there. So, what I think is interesting is that if we look at Jack Antonoff himself, you know, he is behind that song Fun. I mean, I don't edit my videos. I'm going to have to leave that in. I might take a sip of water for that wonderful misspeak. 5 bags of popcorn. He's behind the song Young, right? By Fun. And that song is just like the essential millennial song. It's stadium aspirations, it's wooey wooey woo-ness, and it's lyrics about being young. Now, mind you, when the millennials were coming of age in the middle of the 2010s, I was already like an old man in his 30s, right? So it's understandable that I didn't really relate to this stuff super well. But we are young, set the light on fire. I mean, that song to me is like the way that like Feeling Groovy by Simon & Garfunkel is like so 60s it hurts, right? It just has that feeling. So it feels to me like Jack Antonoff had yet to really figure out how to transition into the genius impresario that he is now. I don't use that term lightly. I think he is a genius producer. I think he gets the best out of everybody that he works with. Doesn't matter who, but obviously if he's working with the best, and I think Taylor Swift realistically is the best right now in terms of pop songwriting, then that combination is just there. But going back to this generational question, to heap a little more praise on Taylor Swift, on this very half-hearted criticism that I'm giving, it's worth noting that what she has done is what very few artists can do, which is take her appeal from one generation to the next. So Generation Z, and presumably Generation ZZ or Generation Alpha or whatever they're going to be called, like they're hers too. Like she is theirs as well. And that's a pretty amazing feat that my nieces, you know, who are born after 1996, that they feel this connection, that my daughter feels this connection, that probably my baby daughter is going to feel that connection too. And that's something really worth emphasizing, the specialness that Taylor Swift has to do that. Very few artists are capable of doing that. Of course, up until he completely lost his mind, not just partially lost his mind. The best example of that was Kanye West, who was able to, yes, I do have to bring him up in every single episode when I talk about Taylor Swift, because I think Taylor Swift and Kanye West are the two most important artists of the 21st century, and the fact that their histories are intertwined is all the more beautiful, is all the more poetic. That moment in the VFAs, I believe, is like the crucial moment of our century of music so far. So, but anyways, it's a very rare thing to do. But what's my complaints here? You know, why am I saying that? Okay, first of all, you know, I was listening to this album just like 20 minutes ago. My daughter was on the couch, my teenage daughter, with my baby, you know, and we were listening to Bad Blood. And we were listening to Shake It Off. Oh, my dance moves. If you could have seen my dance moves. Whew, I mean, it's weird. It's weird because even though they offered me the scholarship to Juilliard for dance, I went a different path, you know. That's how good my dancing was. And even my 1-year-old baby was doing a little baby dance, and my daughter was doing little moves, you know. So when I'm like saying this is the worst Taylor Swift album, it also is, you know, just ridiculously filled front to back with, in the parlance of our times, bops upon bops, right? But the things that I don't like, the main thing is that production, that kind of dated production, but is lyrically that I think this misses the mark the most. And I'm saying that understanding that these lyrics are better than most pop lyrics, but they are way below what I consider to be Taylor Swift standard. In particular, there's this thing about Taylor Swift where she's really capable of marrying what I call, the way I see it, is a sort of romantic life paired with emotional realism. So when I say romantic, I don't mean like kissy kissy. I mean like larger than life. Life is a novel, right? That's what romantic really means. People who live their life as though they're in a movie or they're the characters of a story, right? That she has this huge life that's filled with romance and filled with adventure and wealth and highs and lows, and she takes you along and somehow you relate to her despite the fact that she's living on this other planet. But the thing that she also is able to do is tie in emotional realism. You know, like how does it really feel? Even if you're living in Newport and dating a impossibly handsome underwear model pop star, when your heart is broken, she's able to describe it in such a way that you can be working the night shift at Sheetz in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and hear the song and be like, she's singing about me, okay? This album is lacking, in my opinion, that emotional realism. It's mostly just, there's a hot guy, and he's a bad boy, and I'm gonna sleep with him anyway, over and over and over again. Less insights, too much romanticism, not enough realism, and the storytelling. Is there a single story on this album? I mean, it's used to me, every time I see a Taylor Swift album, I'm like, oh my God, there's got to be a story. There's got to be a story. There's no story on here. I should tell you too, I'm only reviewing the album, okay, the original album from 2014, okay? So I'm not going to review the deluxe version or Taylor's Vault or any of that other stuff, okay? Let me tell you why. Because I'm trying to treat her discography like a discography. I'm trying to basically make it pretend as though I am living through her releasing music at the time that she released it. Because 2014, fresh off a divorce, I had a couple kids under the age of whatever, around the age of 10 years old. There was no way I was going to be able to pay attention to any of this stuff, right? So that's how I'm doing it. I guess if this video gets 6,000 views, I'll do the rest. So it's up to you, Swifties, okay? But anyway, so there's no storytelling here. Her unrelatable life does not feel as relatable. And perhaps the most damning thing I can say about the lyrics on this album is there's not a single lyric that is an arrow straight to my heart. Okay? She has a way of writing lyrics. Okay? And you know that. You know that, Swifties. You know that. You probably have like 50 lyrics tattooed on your arm. Come on, millennials. I know you got it tattooed on your arm. That's what makes you millennial, right? All these tattoos. You know? Like, this album there's just none of those lines. There's a couple that come close. But compared to every other project I've reviewed of hers, we're not there. But that said, $150 off the rack, still nuts. It's still a great album. It's still worth dancing to. It's still worth listening to. It's certainly not a bad album. If you like this review, and you type in AVAA, I will give you a heart. That stands for awesome video as always. I suppose if you're mad, you can say APAA, always pretentious as always. You could do that too. I'll give that a heart as well, okay? No worries. You know, it's just a permission structure, so you can say that you've been watching the video, you know. Smash the like bucket, subscribe. You know, if you get this up to 6,000, then I'll review those other tracks. Was Kendrick Lamar? I saw some report about Kendrick Lamar. Am I missing a Taylor-Kendrick collaboration because of my little idea of not reviewing even the deluxe version? So, let's get to the album here with the opening track, Welcome to New York. This is the worst Taylor Swift song I've ever heard. And it's not even close. Okay, now I have to admit, the song, it slaps. Great 80s synth pop, boots and claps, very 2014, ridiculously catchy, okay? It's not a failure of a song, but it's these lyrics which drive me up the wall, okay? New York City does not need another anthem. It does not need more people talking about how great it is. It's been waiting for you? No, it hasn't. May I please help you if you are watching this video and you do not live in one of the 5 boroughs of New York City? New York City is not waiting for you. It is not. It does not care about you, and it does not want you. Okay? What about Harrisburg, Pennsylvania? What about Jacksonville, Florida? Okay. What about Minneapolis, St. Paul, Austin, Texas, Houston, Texas, Nashville, Knoxville? There's a lot of cities that might actually, be a good place to live with okay quality of life and low cost. Not New York City. It's part of this whole this romanticizing of New York City, which has happened since Rudy Giuliani instituted the no broken windows policy and cleaned up the crime and made everything gentrified and super nice and super rich, where we have like a whole series, like a whole media landscape of people romanticizing New York. And it's primarily targeted at women, right? I mean, it starts with Sex in the City. I mean, you have Girls, which was inspired by Sex in the City, and then you have this song. And then you have this one lyric, which is the lyric that bothers me the most. Everybody here was someone else before. Yeah? So how about your doorman? Okay? The person who opens up your door every day. Were they someone else before? Okay? How about the person who comes in and cleans your apartment? Okay? How about the person who sells kavkalash on the street? Okay? How about the person who works at Rite Aid? Okay, we're talking about a city of millions and 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 millions of people who are just trying to make their way through. Not everybody there is someone else before. A very small percentage of people who have the financial means, the considerable financial means to move to New York, are able to move to New York. New York is waiting for her. It's just not waiting for you, okay? It's not waiting for me. She talks about it as a new love and a true love. And mind you, awesome. The singing here is great. I mean, the outro here and these layers, I don't know what's happening with her voice. It's great. And it's all about this new soundtrack. And here's where I'm going to be sympathetic to the song that I've just been crapping on, okay? It is a statement, which is that not only is this album pop, but this album is New York, which means it is not Nashville. It is not... She's from somewhere in Pennsylvania, right? Is it Reading, Pennsylvania? I think that's why I said Harrisburg earlier. She's from somewhere in Pennsylvania, right? So it is a real statement to make a song about New York City. Put in the comments if you catch that reference. You don't, but that's a deep reference. That's strictly for Xers and older. New York City. It communicates that she is now not singing for the people. She is singing for the upper elites of society and culture, with whom she is going to be rubbing elbows. And this is, I guess, a transition phase because she hasn't yet figured out a way to make that relatable. So to me, it just comes across as someone who is ridiculously privileged through her own effort and genius, ridiculously privileged, singing about getting to live in a place which is a wonderland if you're super rich. If you're super rich, New York's got to be the best. It's waiting for her. It's waiting for Bezos' kids. It's just not waiting for you. Okay, rant over. Next track is Blank Space. Almost a trap beat here. This is that kind of like 2014 datedness of it. I don't really like the lyrics, but I do like the movement of the melody in the verse. That's maybe some of the more developed stuff that I think we'll hear later in her career. There's which feels very forced. And just these lyrics, you look like my next mistake. I make the bad guys good for a weekend. All this sort of like bad boys, what you gonna do when they sleep with you. That kind of just consistent, that was not in my notes, so was that joke good? I don't think it was. I think it was a bad joke. And also this line like, I can read you like a magazine, this sort of imperious, like omniscient Taylor, I don't know. And then just this one lyric, darling, I'm a nightmare dressed like a daydream. That's a misfire. That's loading up the arrow, but it does that thing where it goes whoosh and hits you on the forearm. You're like, damn. I gotta wear one of those guards, okay? It just doesn't work. It's like one of those lines that I'm sure is tattooed on many forearms. But, I don't know. And then there's just the YOLO garbage, So I don't like You Only Live Once. I don't like it as a sentiment. I think YOLO exists to get people to develop addiction and debt. And I don't like either of those things, okay? My slogan is yo goo. You only grow old once, okay? So don't go into debt. Don't damage your brain with drugs and alcohol. Build yourself up. Put yourself in the best position to have the life you want to live when you're 40 years old. So, being young and reckless and I don't know. But I do love the part. I love the players and you love the game. That's taking a traditional rap saying and kind of turning it on its head. I like it. And it can't, this isn't a Starbucks thing, right? Right? I can't hear anything else. Starbucks, blank space, and write your name. So it cannot be that this is a song about a barista and she falls in love with the guy who's selling her coffee. Who's buying a coffee. And then there's a blank space to write the name. Right? That doesn't make any sense with the rest of the song. But I just hear her say Starbucks. Was it this way on the original? She says, you Starbucks lovers. I don't know, I just watched the Barcelona-Madrid game, and, the Rolling Stones were the shirt sponsor for Barca. So, I don't know, maybe this was a Starbucks thing, but it can't be. Because in general, it's pretty interesting the way it seems very self-referential. It seems like it's sort of about her relationship and how she's already known. Maybe that's the other thing. I think as she goes on in her career, she gets more interesting in talking about her place in pop culture. I do like the bridge, too. Boys only want love if it's torture. Don't say I didn't warn you. I love the way she harmonizes with herself. And there's a little snap. Like the snap that is just like 2014. Like when you hear that snap. Then we get to the song Style. This was the second time after the New York song. I'm like, oh, I know this song. Cool, kind of like... So I don't know. But if this came out in 2014, that means it's a year after Daft Punk came out with Random Access Memories, which was after they reintroduced Giorgio Moroder and his proto-techno disco style to the world. This feels very Giorgio Moroder. There's a whole theme in this album of being picked up in cars or driving in cars. Like a lot of songs start off with cars, and this is, Pick Me Up with No Headlights. You see that? That's the Taylor Swift I'm talking about. That's the Taylor Swift where I go, oh, look at that detail. Pick me up with no headlights. Oh, that tells a whole story. That opens up a whole world. That's that ability that Taylor Swift has to write those lyrics, which isn't really shown here. But then, this is that James Dean look song. That James Dean, white shirt. It's okay. It's catchy. I get it. I like the idea of there being timeless style. Why does she call herself Brad Pitt? Is it like that Brad Pitt classic thing that you like? Again, it's like the Starbucks line. I must be mishearing it, but I hear Brad Pitt classic thing. Okay, truth be told, Brad Pitt, Legends of the Fall, there's two kinds of people. It's people who are attracted to Brad Pitt in Legends of the Fall, and they're goddamn liars. I don't care how straight, how gay you are. That is a classic look. So maybe that's what she's referring to, but she can't she can't be. Anyways, I think I actually do like this song. I think a lot of my issues is, and this happens a lot in my reviews to Taylor Swift, I'm working through a lot of misogyny, right? I grew up very misogynist in my attitude towards art. And I think a lot of this song, a lot of this album is describing sort of a female desire. And there's like a little note here again, like here's these little hints of these lyrics that might be Taylor Swift up to her normal level. He can't keep his wild eyes on the road. That's beautiful, right? Like he's driving and he's so like into her that he can't keep his eyes on the road. See, that's another one of those details that I'm talking about that she's able to make that other people are not. This is a pop song, but I call this a window pop song. Like a pop song where you like drive and look out the window and listen to it, or sit in a train. It has that kind of spacey feel to it, which I really like. Also, I saw somewhere that the video was directed by someone named Kyle Newman. I interviewed Kyle Newman. So I'm basically friends with Taylor Swift. I interviewed him about Star Wars toys before he even did this video. So there you go. I guess Kyle Newman is married to Jamie King, who is Taylor Swift's best friend. I was aware of that when I recorded this interview, but I did not bring it up. I did not hit him up to get tickets for the Eras Tour. Speaking of the Eras Tour, I'm doing a video on my other channel about how the Eras movie is a sequel to Barbie. And the Beckham documentary is a sequel to Barbie. So you check that out up here, okay? It's a much quicker video, but it'll be fun, you know? What do I mean? Next track is Out of the Woods. We're out of the woods, what's that? It's a Wizard of Oz, right? Super epic, very Antonoff-y song. You know, is this one of the ones by Antonoff? I don't even know. It must be. All these millennial woos, very millennial album. I do love the crunchy sound on the synthesizer toms here. And there's like a little harpsichord in the back. And again, every once in a while she'll pull out a lyric that gets close. The world was in black and white and we were in screaming color. Do you see what I'm saying about like when she's great? Because screaming color, like it's a synesthesia, right? So she's describing color with sound. Synesthesia is when you mix up two different senses at the same time. So to be in screaming color, it's beautiful. And I like the big chorus and we're out of the woods, are we in the clear? And then she says something really relatable later on, where she says the monsters turned out to be just trees. So I spent a lot of time when I was younger. So my parents weren't really into what's that thing, nutrition. So I drank like 2 liters of Coca-Cola, not diet, just straight Coca-Cola every day. And so that would often leave me wide awake at night. And I was also super scared. I was a scaredy cat. And I was afraid to turn over in bed because I was certain there were monsters, and if I looked at them, they would see me. So I'd always just stare at my window. But the problem was windows was filled with trees, and trees was filled with monsters. So I do like that as a relatable little note that she puts in here. Wait a minute. Am I saying that this album is bad because the lyrics aren't good? I'm spending so much time telling you about how the lyrics are so good? Yes, and I'll tell you why. Because these are sort of the exceptions, okay? And then there's a cool little bit of production here where it's sort of like the voices are doubled and tripled and repeated. It reminded me a lot of Take a Chance on, Take a Chance, Take a Chance, Take a Chance, Take a... by ABBA, Take a Chance on Me, where it's basically a cappella. Next song was All You Had to Do Was Stay! Almost like a marching band sound. I like how the voice is way up front here. This chorus is cool. I like it. It sort of reminds me of Trouble and its catchiness, like this stay. This is the song. I was at the gym. I was on the elliptical. I was watching Brentford beat Chelsea. And so I was there. I was watching soccer and I was listening to the game, to the album, and this was just. I just wanted to scream. I wanted to scream. I wanted to sing all the lyrics and sing them at the top of my lungs. Okay, super bonus points. But when we talk about to provide the counterpoint, when the lyrics are bad, all you had to do was stay. You had me in the palm of your hand. She is a master of turning phrases, of taking cliches and doing something interesting with them. This is not it. You had me in the palm of your hand. What else? Tay-Tay, come on. You set the bar so damn high for yourself that me, as someone who truly appreciates your songwriting, has got to say 14 out of 20. I know you can do better. That's in the American grading system. That'd be a 8 out of 20 in the French grading system. Shake It Off. Oh, this song. This is another song which I'm pretty sure shows off the influence of one of the 3 great albums of 2013. Or the 3 masterpiece albums, 2013, Yeezus. The horns on here remind me a lot of the horns on Blood on the Leaves as developed by Scottish EDM producer Hudson Mohawk. It has that kind of feeling. I discovered the secret to this song. It's not how catchy the chorus is. It's the sound of the hi-hat. God damn, it's killer. Oh, this song is so well produced. I remember the video, which is imitating Big Lebowski, if I remember correctly. But this is just that song, I just dance and dance. And I read somewhere that she said that this was intended to be a wedding reception song, and props to her, it is. And wedding reception songs are usually not great. But if I had to listen to this, or I've got a feeling that tonight's gonna be a good, good night, like the other, I would much rather listen to Shake It Off. It's great, and it seems to be, that this is increasingly important in her work. How does she deal with her own fame? It's very strong. I do want to take a little side moment to talk to Swifties, just in case you ever say the words, you don't like rap music. Yes, you do. Okay? So it's okay. You can say that you don't. Just careful how you say you don't like rap music. Because this album, more than any other, if you like this album, it means that you love the influence of rap music on pop stars. The whole song, I mean, all the slang, the influence, this rap bridge that happens here when she talks about this sick beat. I'm not saying you have to say that you love rap music, but you cannot love 1989 as an album and have disrespect for rap music. Do you understand what I'm saying? The same way that you can't love Taylor Swift and say that you hate country music, right? You can say you dislike certain elements of country music. You can say that you like this or that, right? But that's part of the beauty of Taylor Swift is she works through so many genres that she expands her listeners' perspectives. So, anyways, this is a sick beat. And also, she says breakers are going to break, which is super confusing because breaking, the term breakdancing is offensive. Did you know that? It is. People who break do not like the term breakdancers. They're breakers. So, is this song about breakers, or is she saying breakers like people who break other people, like hurt people? I can't quite tell. I don't think it's about breakdancing. I Wish You Would, cover of a Lumberjack by Taylor the Creator. Taylor the Creator. Someone must have done that already, right? A mashup. Can we do that? Can someone do that? Taylor the Creator. Mixing together Lumberjack and I Wish You Would. Cool funk guitar, again, very 80s sounding. I guess that was on purpose, huh? The album's called 1989, and a lot of the pop landscape sounds very 80s-like. Starts off again with another car image. This is where we're getting to some of her storytelling that's a little bit what I'm hoping for. This image of someone driving by, and she imagines that that's her ex driving by, and then she imagines what her ex is feeling. You can feel this is Antonoff. We're getting to the point where Antonoff and Taylor Swift are going to be what they would become. Great epic chorus, very millennial instincts. There's a great, cool outro with this drum machine. Next track is Bad Blood. Okay. You remember a couple years ago when Robin Thicke got arrested or sued for stealing the vibe from Marvin Gaye? Taylor Swift, you need to cut a check to Pharrell Williams and Chad Hugo, a.k.a. the Neptunes. Their 2002 song, Grinding. This is... it hurt. It hurt. I heard it. I was at the gym and I was mad. Because I'm like, this is just grinding. It's just, Anyways, of course, the whole song isn't grinding. It's got this great catchy chorus. I love the chorus. I love the bad blood. I don't mind this, New York bugs me. This doesn't bite me at all. But again, we go to the weaker lyrics. These wounds, they last. And they last. Come on, Taylor. You don't do that. You're better than that. You don't run out of things to say and then just repeat it. Now, I should say that my Patreons, I asked them if they want a shout out. I'm going to give shout outs at the end. And someone named Regan, Regan, said that they really wanted a shout out because this is a much better version than Scooter's version. So I asked them, quick, tell me, how is it different? And I'm going to see if they responded. They didn't. So you tell me how it's different. I'm not going to listen to Scooter. Okay? Not gonna do it. Next track is Wildest Dreams. This was the song that was sung at Caroline's birthday party. My poor daughter didn't know any of the words then, but I'll tell you what, she knew all the words today. Kind of a downbeat song, kind of haunting synthesizers. Again, driving with a guy, but out of the city. He's so handsome. He's so tall. He's handsome as hell. It's okay. So, anyways, I'm lucky that I'm not like tall, but I'm relatively tall. But if I wasn't a tall guy, especially if I was a short guy, I'd be a little bit grumpy that there's a song about, this physical characteristic that you can't change about yourself. You know what I mean? Like if Harry Styles had a song and he was like, she's so slim. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? What would happen? You tell me what would happen if Harry Styles wrote a song and he said that she's so slim, she's pretty as hell. Oh, the outrage. Now, of course, it's because patriarchy is terrible and women suffer times a million what men suffer for beauty standards. But still, it rubs me the wrong way. He's so bad, but he pulls it off so well. Bad boy narratives. But hey, here's a question. Here's another question for you. You might know the answer to this. What is the direction of influence between Lana Del Rey and Taylor Swift? I know they did that song, Snow on the Beach. God damn, they are so good. You get why I'm saying that, like, they're not as, that, like, this is fine, but, like, oh, man. But, like, what's the direction of influence? Because this feels like a Lana Del Rey song to me. I assume this is Taylor Swift taking on a Lana-esque style, but you can tell me. I will say that the second verse does contain some true eroticism in it. The way that she talks, it's something like, his hands in my hair. There's some kind of like little tiny detail that feels truly erotic. I do love the production on the second chorus, especially of the voice. I think this is the best singing on the album. When we get to eroticism, we do get to the sort of limit to what Taylor Swift can say. Because I think she's always conscious. I don't think that she's just working by committee, but I think she's conscious not to alienate a lot of her listeners. Up to a point. She is fortunately comfortable alienating her listeners who are anti-choice and pro everyone dying of COVID. But she can't really talk about sex, right? Like, she can reference like nights and hands in hair, and in this song it's burning it down. That's how she refers to like a night of sex, burning it down. Not a, I don't know, man, it's an old turn of phrase. How you get the girl? Wasn't this song in a Diet Coke commercial? I read that somewhere. So it's not a great start. This is the biggest disappointment on the album. Let me tell you why. The title, you know what I pictured? Because Taylor Swift has done this thing the last couple of years where she writes these songs that are like these feminist masterpieces that are just poison pills. They don't come across as like, I am woman, hear me roar. But I was picturing this was a song, there would be an angry song about how men and boys treat girls and women like objects to be won, objects to be gotten. So I thought this was going to be like this great anthem about like personhood and agency and how women are not prizes, they are human beings, but it's not. It's a get back together song. I want you for worse or for better. I could wait forever and ever. Something. That's how you get the girl. So it's all right. That's my fault. I like the little upbeat guitar pop bit here. It's kind of inoffensive, kind of a filler song. Then we get to the song This Love, which is this the only real ballad on the album? And remember, I'm only talking about the original, 13 songs, okay? I'm not going to the deluxe edition or the Taylor's version or it's like voice memos or some crazy stuff. It's like acoustic guitar and synth pads. I do like the lyrics here. So, I was upset with her before with saying, like, repeating words. But I like this line, I could go on, and I will. I find that funny. It's really gorgeous. I'm going to move this over here. The light's getting kind of funky back there. Actually, light's kind of funky over there, too. The light's funky all over. Just gorgeous. The 80s drum machine comes in, losing grips on sinking ships. You showed up just on time. I don't get it. Losing grips on sinking ships. It's like a mixed metaphor. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't lose a grip on a sinking ship. I mean, those words rhyme, but do you see what I'm saying? And my criticisms are compliments. Do you understand that? That these aren't like the worst lyrics I've ever heard. I'm just saying for Taylor Swift. I know places. Super weird sounds in the beginning, like I. It sort of reminds me of that Jay-Z and Linkin Park collab that they did. That was used in all of the movie trailers for a while. Tried so hard. I like this song because here we're getting to some personal truth here. Okay, they're hunters. They are the hunters and we are foxes. As far as I can tell, this is about paparazzi. And that's a true reality of her life, right? That's emotional truth. I looked it up and it says that, like, now that I think about it, I should have looked up the Starbucks lyric and the Brad Pitt lyric. You know, the Brad Pitt lyric makes less sense than the Starbucks lyric. But anyways, I looked up the lyrics to this because I was trying to figure out, like, this is about the paparazzi, right? Apparently, she was dating... Did you know she dated Harry Styles? Did you know that? I did. I had no idea. My God. Talk about a power couple. They dated? I never knew. But what makes this interesting is that she, and I'm not being facetious, I legitimately did not know that. I asked my wife and my daughter, they didn't know either. My baby, she was like, yeah, I knew that. But the rest of us didn't. What I like is the idea is that she's essentially being... because, you know, famous people just date famous people. And to a certain extent, you're like, that sucks, you know? Because it's like, what are the odds that famous people are... You know what I mean? And it seems like they always get divorced or they always break up. So it just feels fake. But it makes sense because you date people who you can relate to, you know? So, like, this sounds so pretentious. I've dated people who don't have doctorates, okay? But it's easier for me to relate to somebody who has that level of education. That doesn't mean that I am so wonderful I need to date people with doctorates. It just means there's a kind of shared experience, a sort of life experience, a sort of worldview that comes with dedicating yourself to that level of education, right? Okay. APAA, always pretentious as always. But it's like when you're famous... It's got to be so alienating. How can you possibly relate to anybody? How? How can you relate to any... Because think about being famous, right? Every time you walk into a room, everybody who's in that room will tell the story of seeing you. So just next time you go to, like, Arby's, you know, or TJ Maxx, okay, or Wegmans, whatever. Next time you go, just imagine that literally everybody who lays eyes on you will go home and tell people. And in 15 years, they'll be sitting around and they'll be hanging out on a couch and having a wine spritz. And they'll say, did you ever see anyone famous? I say, yeah, I saw Professor Sky at Wegmans once. It was wild. Yeah, no. He was, yeah, it was awesome. He was buying Butter Boy, you know, that French butter they got there. It's so funny. It was so on brand for him to be buying French butter, you know, but there he was. So, you know, it's understandable. But what I like about this song is that she's like telling the person that she's with that she knows how to handle it. So she's like mentoring, and I like to imagine it's Harry Styles. She's mentoring a younger star about how to deal with the paparazzi, which takes it to a different level of emotional truth. The final track, for me, is Clean. This is like more like it. So, like, I mean, Shake It Off is great, right? So, I mean, if I have to listen to one song off this album, I'm going to listen to Shake It Off because just, of course, right? But this, I think, is more what I'm looking for. The way this song is produced, the way it's sung, this feels, maybe it's because it's produced by Imogen Heap, I don't know. A cool, weird, compressed drum loop. There's something about this that feels like it's moving her towards the phase that she's in now. The flowers we grew together died of thirst, you know, like that's that example of that, to me, that's a stunk lyric because it's simple, but it's deep. But then, she loses it. This lyric, dear God, this I think, okay? and I'm going to piss someone off, but I'm sorry. I think this is the worst Taylor Swift lyric of all time. You're still all over me like a wine-stained dress I can't wear anymore. That doesn't make any sense. I need more prepositions. I need at least one more preposition. You're still all over me like a wine-stained dress I can't wear anymore. So it's such a bad lyric because what is over you? Is it the dress that is over you, or are you talking about the stain on the white dress? You are still all over me like a stain on a white dress I can't wear anymore. That makes sense. That's dirty, okay? And you need to be clean, as it's said in the songs. But if you can't wear the dress anymore, she can't wear the dress anymore, and the lyric is, you're still all over me like a wine-stained dress, okay? That would be like me saying, okay, you're no longer on my head like the paper that is on my head, okay? The paper's on my head. The lyric doesn't work if I say that the paper is not on my head anymore. The paper's on my head. She's not wearing the wine-stained dress. Therefore, he is not all over her. It's just so maddening. I've spent like 15 minutes trying to work this thing out. Like, how can we fix this lyric? You're still all over me like a wine-stained dress I can't wear anymore. I think she's talking about the stain on the dress. It just doesn't make sense. Is this like a thing? Do Swifties talk about this all the time? Is this widely acknowledged as the worst Taylor Swift lyric of all time? That said, it's not a terrible song. Like, lyrically, it's actually not a terrible song. That line bugs me. What I think is fascinating is, as far as I know, Taylor Swift has not had any issues with addiction, right? I mean, truthfully, I don't think it's possible for her to be this consistent, this excellent, and this driven, and suffer from addiction at the same time. I'm not saying she couldn't be a lyrical genius and musical genius. Obviously, there have been plenty of lyrical and musical geniuses who suffer from addiction. But her, as the kids say, grind set is so high, I don't think she can possibly be addicted to anything. So I guess this is just, addiction as a metaphor for love. But 10 months sober, I must admit, just because you're clean doesn't mean you don't miss it. 10 months older, I won't give in. Now that I'm clean, I'm not going to risk it. So, is this just for her fans who suffer from addiction? I don't know. Has she suffered from addiction? Or is this actually just another song about a bad boy ex who she's trying to get over? I don't know. So there's my review, hey? It's a great album. It's my least favorite Taylor Swift album, and it's a great album. And, these are my Patreons. I'll see if anyone else has chimed in for wanting to be. You can join my Patreon, /Professor Sky. They've changed things around over there, so it's kind of weird. Got 109 people over there, but only 95 are paid members. What the hell? How can you be on Patreon and not pay? It's not free Treon. Anyways, so we got Reagan. Jack McConnell says, please do a shout out for my wife, Allison, who wanted to go to Eras Tour with her friends but couldn't get a ticket. Yeah, it's a bummer. Allison, shout out for you. I didn't get to go either. I've never seen Taylor Swift in concert, and I guess I'll go see the movie, or you can watch my video about the movie, which is coming out at the exact same time as I'm dropping this on my spam channel, okay? So check out my spam channel, and there you go. How about that Jude Bellingham, huh? That guy could play soccer. Damn. Can't figure out who I was even rooting for, honestly. It's hard to tell. So there you go. This is my Patreons. I don't think I'm going to buy 1989 on vinyl, but I think I have to buy Midnights finally. All right, till next time, there's the camera.